Hello and welcome to another episode of the Atheist Experience. I'm your host, Russell Glasser, and with me today is Don Baker.
Hey, good to be here.
Welcome back. Today is Sunday, January 15th, 2017. We're a live call-in internet-based atheist TV show broadcasting from Austin, Texas, dedicated to promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. You can catch us live every Sunday on YouTube or Ustream.tv. The official Atheist Experience website is www.atheist-experience.com. You can provide feedback to the show by commenting on the official show blog at freethoughtblogs.com/AXP. Email us at tv@atheist-community.org. Or you can join the Atheist Experience official discussion group on Facebook. If you enjoy this show, you should check out our related podcast, The Nonprofits, which is currently airing on the first and third Wednesdays of the month. You can find links at the Atheist Experience website. And the next live episode of The Nonprofits will be this Wednesday, January 18th. As always, the cast and crew of the Atheist Experience will be going to dinner after the show at Star of India. The address is 2900 West Anderson Lane, and we'll arrive around 6:15, give or take. Okay, so a few additional announcements this week. The first one, so there's some upcoming events that I wanted to mention to people. 2 out of the 3 are for other people in the Austin area, specifically and especially if you are members of the atheist community of Austin. No, I'm sorry. The first one is that for everybody, all our listeners, we've got something very important, and I'm saying this in my capacity as the president of the Atheist Community of Austin. We really, really want you to participate in the survey that is going to be popping up on our website next week. That's atheist-community.org. The day it will appear is the same as the date of the next show, January 22nd. It's going to be really helpful because you can provide us with lots of useful feedback about all the things that we do, including both shows, our social media stuff, and our functioning as a live, real-life meetup space for atheists in Austin. And if that's not enough incentive to you to give us feedback that we'll actually listen to, we are going to sweeten the deal with some prizes. A lot of the stuff on our products page is going to be given out as in a random drawing for participants in the survey. Free stuff like t-shirts, mugs, and bumper stickers with super cool atheist logos on them. So please, Matt will announce it on next week's show, and the survey will run for 1 week, at which point the last day will be another Sunday when we'll announce it again. So do that. Just letting you know.
Get your fingers ready.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's see. For anyone who is interested in me personally and happens to be in the Los Angeles area, I'm going to be taking a business trip to Riverside at the beginning of February. So Friday evening, February 3rd, I've set up an event where I'm going to be talking about skepticism to the Secular Student Alliance of UC Riverside. That's Friday evening, February 3rd. Check out the UC Riverside SSA Facebook page, assuming they have one. I'm pretty sure they have one. They'll give you the details when we get closer to that. And this one is the one for local Austin residents. We are trying to get more diligent about having regular membership meetings, and so Friday, February 10th is the date when we will be having a pizza party. So Friday night, I think 7 o'clock is what we said. We'll definitely nail it down for sure. In the upcoming couple of weeks, come, and there's going to be pizza and cake and only a little bit of fascinating stuff about how the ACA is doing from me and some other board members and people you know and love. So if you're in Austin, February 10th, mark your calendars. Thanks. All right.
Sounds great. Well, you want me to take over?
Take over.
Okay.
Go
I've
for
got
it,
another
Don.
failure show. This is number 45 by my reckoning. So many failures, so few gods. Today I want to talk about the Christian obsession with sex and power. And what got me started on this is Dan Patrick is our lieutenant governor, and he is pushing a bill requiring that transgendered people use the bathrooms for their biological sex, in quotes, in government and school restrooms. And it also, the law would bar local ordinances to the contrary. And Patrick, who presides over the Senate, has said the action was required to ensure that sexual predators do not use transgender bathroom laws as a pretext for entering women's bathrooms. So this is sort of in response to Obama's edict on that. And the law would be enforced through fines.
Would you say that Dan Patrick is trying to override a federal law via a state law?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and ironically...
And he's trying to
bar the overriding of the local... So it's a power grab from above and below is right. What it's about. So there's a power component there for sure. Mm-hmm. From my perspective, this bill is clearly vindictive and doesn't solve any actual problem. And he asserts that...
You notice the law wasn't actually that sex offenders can't use restrooms.
Right. I mean, that would have made much more sense.
Yeah.
And I think he'd have a complete...
It still wouldn't make sense because sexual predators have the right to have basic biological functions, right. But it would make more sense than this.
He asserts that the only people opposed are Anglo-liberals, and many of them work in the media. So I guess that even includes us, because we're Anglo and we're kind of in the media, sort of, kind of. Anyway, so this was one of the first days of the legislature this session, and there is all sorts of laws and problems that the legislature needs to fix, and there's a huge number of them have to do with children. So Texas has a broken foster care system. Texas Child Protective Services has seen an increase in the number of children who have died under Greg Abbott. School funding is broken and needs to be fixed. There needs to be an improving of funds for therapy for the disabled. There needs to be a stopping of the rejection of children who need special education for the purposes of the rejection for the purposes of saving money. And we need to stop promoting school vouchers. But none of these things are high on the list of priorities for Dan Patrick, who controls the agenda. And a little bit about Dan Patrick. He's, I think, in many ways a sort of typical Christian legislator. In his inaugural speech for lieutenant governor, he said, "I represent all faiths and religions, but I'm a Christian first and a conservative second and a Republican third. I praise Jesus for this moment and this day." And he believes he's been anointed by God and claims to have God's blessing on all his decisions. He's got a lot of other crazy beliefs, like there is no such thing as a separation of church and state. So he's kind of a dangerous guy, and most of the bills that he has put out have a Christian slant to an obvious Christian slant. He even wrote the book, "The Second Most Important Book You Will Ever Read." That's the title of the book. So, and he said God endorsed it, so thumbs up.
Let me take three guesses about what the first important book is.
Right, exactly.
The only book that some people read, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Or act like they read.
So that's Dan Patrick, but he's among a large number of Christian legislators in Texas, and this Texas is kind of a test bed, I think, for Christians and their laws, and they don't have any trouble getting elected in Texas. Just say Christian, and a lot of people will vote for them, especially in the red parts of the state. Austin tends to be a blue part of the state. There's no shortage of laws, past and present, restricting or controlling people's private parts. There have been, or there are, dildo laws, sodomy laws, endless abortion laws, state-provided false information about pregnancy, more abortion laws, contraceptive misinformation in schools, fetal tissue laws, sonogram laws, raising the bar unfairly for family planning clinics, more abortion restrictions, incest and rape are just fine with us, abortion waiting periods, interfering with doctor-client privilege, still more abortion laws, severe, irreversible fetal or abnormalities must result in a birth. And we love fake abortion videos. You know, those fake discredited abortion videos, they love those newsy. So these are some of the things that Christians do when they get in power in Texas. And you know, one could complain that, this is not all Christians, but this is the Christians that are actually doing something and making a difference. And you know, by their fruits you shall know them. So even at the national stage, there are these cultural wars that have been going on for years that include sabotaging women's health care, abortion, especially Planned Parenthood, going after Planned Parenthood, who incidentally prevents more abortions than they do. Contraception, gay rights, sodomy laws, marriage rights, transgender issues, and even meddling in schools, teaching that evolution is bunk, promotion of prayer, screwing up sex education, voucher schemes, these sorts of things. They're all kind of part of the culture war. And what can we conclude from all this? Well, first off, Christians must use the power of government because they lack any other power. If they had some other power to make all this stuff happen, they would just snap their fingers and do that.
Right. And I mean, I think to the point, they don't have or have confidence in their power of persuasion. Like they don't make the case for these laws by going in front of the public or convincing local business owners, please don't allow transgender bathrooms or intersex bathrooms. They enforce it.
Yeah, they tend to be heavy-handed, and you know, if there's quite a number of quotes in the Bible about Jesus talking about the power of prayer. In John 14:12 through 14, he says, "Truly, truly, I say unto you, he who believes in me will also do the works that I do, and greater works than these will he do, because I go to the Father. Whatever you ask in my name, I will do it. That the Father may be glorified in the Son. If you ask anything in my name, I will do it." And there's a lot of quotes like this about, you know, the various circumstances under which you can pray and get whatever you want. And clearly the Christians have this ability to do this. And why aren't they doing it?
Well, if I were to argue the Christian point of view, I'd probably say, yeah, God does give us the ability to stop those perverts from using bathrooms by blessing us with diligent legislators who pass laws that are
who happen to be rich.
Done. Yeah.
Okay. So the Christian clergy doesn't even really have the power of the pew. They haven't even really been able to enforce these sorts of laws in their own churches. And so Christians seem to want to grab power everywhere they can to consolidate the power with the state and have the religion run it. It seems to be the long-term plan here, and they've done a very good job, I have to say, of ratcheting forward with these additional laws every couple of years. And when you look back on it, it's quite a large number. Another thing we can conclude is that Christians are just completely obsessed about sex, and they want no sex before marriage. Marriage is the only way for men to have sex. Once married, the wife must submit and make a quiver full of children. There can be no abortion, contraceptives, or family planning. These are all the Christian messages. Those children must be raised with a religion, and any means of enforcing that religion or upbringing is to be used, and those children should repeat the process, and so on. And this is sort of the Christian agenda, if you will. And so everybody knows there's no God that can make tithers, and the churches need to control this harness, this magic of that is completely out of their hands, the magic of birth, by controlling women and controlling reproduction. And it's much easier for religions to make new minds to infect with this mind virus than it is It's much easier, more cost-effective than trying to convert people. You can actually say they don't recruit, they procreate. And let's see. So it seems like unless they can co-opt the government to enforce precisely those things that their God or all that all the magic in Christendom cannot do, they're using the government because they don't have this power. And they seem to be demonstrating to us that all of Christianity is a giant fraudulent pyramid scheme that needs to suck resources from others for its survival. And who cares about the needs of those children as they grow up, as long as they believe in God and make more. So that's it.
Okay.
Another failure of Christianity.
Yeah. Let's see. I've been reminded of an announcement that I skipped, something that some of our members would like to raise the visibility of. There is an atheist orphanage being built in Uganda, which
that's interesting.
sounds dicey because a lot of scams come out of that area, but the Freedom from Religion, the Foundation Beyond Belief has gotten involved and donated them to them and are promoting them. They've been covered in several mainstream news sources. They, as best as we can tell, appear to be a legitimate organization. And
so what does an atheist orphanage mean? Is that they're trying to get kids into atheist households?
No, well, I'm afraid I was asked to talk this up, and I don't have all the details at my fingertips.
All right. Because we're all born atheists, right? We have to be taught how to believe something.
Yeah, but I think the point here is that there are a lot of orphanages that are explicitly run in a religious way, and I would presume that what they're after is setting up a deliberately secular institution, sort of like Camp Quest, which is a great group that we support, and it's all over the country, and it's a summer camp that kids can go to that is explicitly not a religious camp.
Right.
Although,
right.
I don't believe
so
they
free from the religious biases.
Pressure people one way or the other.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you know the name of it?
I'm pulling that up, but they have a crowdfunding campaign. They're called Bizoha Orphanage, Bizoha. And I just thought I'd mention it because
that's interesting.
It seems like a worthy cause, and I hope nobody will get back to us and say that we've been had. But
your
check
responsibility doesn't really end when you donate, right? You really sort of need to kind of keep an eye on what that organization does with your money and
right.
Speak up.
But I trust Foundation Beyond Belief's judgment because this is the main thing that they do. So check them out.
Great.
John in San Diego, you are first today on the Atheist Experience.
Oh, hey guys, I'm glad to talk to you.
Hi.
Hey, it's pretty neat. I wanted to talk about one thing though. You're talking about bathrooms. Did you know that there's an old federal law that says that women can use men's bathrooms?
No, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
It's true. I think it came out of that idea of women reporters going into the dressing room of sports things,
Yeah, I mean, generally, the way bathrooms are set up and used, if you have an equal number of men and women, it's a lot harder to
service all the women.
I mean, there's a much bigger crowding problem in women's bathrooms for a variety of reasons.
That's the first thing I thought of too.
Right.
Yeah.
But that'd be an interesting thing in the way of ammo for the folks trying to fight this bill.
Yeah, although I'm not sure what the regular laws are, because in like small one-room bathrooms for small venues, like sometimes they're labeled men's and women's bathrooms, but like it's not like that's enforced or anything. So, I feel like making up laws about this stuff is kind of ridiculous to begin with.
Yes. Giant waste.
Yeah, well, I think what's happening mostly now is that people are just making a small bathroom, and it's like a unisex bathroom.
Right.
So they have 2 or 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah,
so
well, they were, but what's his name is outlawing that in Texas.
Well,
Or
I don't know.
trying to.
There's various shades of gray.
Dan Patrick.
Apparently, institutions are allowed to have a third unisex bathrooms for other folks or for whatever needs, special needs. So it's not that they have to use that; it's just that they can't use the other.
Well, like most Starbucks, they only have one bathroom, and so you just go in, lock the door, and
Right.
then another person goes.
Anyway, I don't know how
Yeah.
deep we want to get into legal mechanics when none of us are lawyers. But what's on your mind?
Well, I wanted to. Christians sometimes call you guys up, and they have an argument that life can only come from life. So therefore, you have to have God in the first place create life to come along. But I don't think that's true. I think that because if you look, a human being, a life form, eats a cow. A cow's a life form, and a cow eats grass. The grass is a life form, but the grass takes minerals and water from the ground, sunshine and air, and that's what creates the green life form, the plant.
Right.
So, essentially, as you come up the ladder, his life is not coming from another life; it's coming from these minerals and water and sunshine and air.
Yeah, but a lot of theists would argue that is God. God is the life form that makes that all possible.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Not that I buy that,
but
that's what I would expect to hear.
Yeah, but still, though. Sorry about that. But still, the whole thing basically comes from plants growing in the ground. It gives everything else its life.
Yeah, and it all ultimately derives from the energy from the sun, right? Which we can explain through nuclear reactions and these sorts of things. So, and gravity pulling all the mass together. Right. So there's nothing supernatural here. Yeah,
life doesn't. Life generally doesn't originate at a certain point in the conception cycle. The more interesting philosophical question to a lot of people is, at what point is it, a person to which we grant rights?
Right, and this
that
idea
is
of
not that clearly defined.
Yeah, and there's no real basis for this notion of a moment of conception.
Right.
There isn't such a thing.
Yeah. I mean, you can go far enough back. At what point, there's certainly no groups that I'm aware of that say you can't destroy a load of sperm. Even though the sperm is totally alive.
It's a sin to masturbate.
Right.
It is.
Yeah. Because every time you ejaculate, you should be having 6 billion babies or something like that. Because that makes tons of sense.
Right.
That really is the edict of the Catholic Church, that every single egg that a woman produces is intended to be a human, and you're supposed to do everything in your power to bring that about.
Yep. Because we need to address the terrifying underpopulation problem that we have.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Another thing I wanted to say was that this idea of religion itself. I don't think that religion really cares whether there's a God or not. They just want money. So they use this concept of God to threaten people and scare you. If you don't send all your money to the preacher, you're going to hell in a handbasket.
I don't think that you can say that for all religious people. And I do want to just give context here. The call screen says you are a theist, but you haven't mentioned that yet. So I'm just bringing that up.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Religion has nothing to do with God.
I disagree.
They don't care if there's a God or not.
I disagree.
I think I see where you're going with it. There is a mandate, whether spoken or tacit, among religions to perpetuate the religion.
Sure, but that is in addition to the context of the religion. And there are some cults that talk up the almost divinity of an individual living person. Arguably, you've got someone like Kim Jong-un who is considered sort of godly, or at least extremely
by
good
him.
at everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of religions definitely have the central tenet of worshiping a god, and I don't think that it is up to us to say that that they don't actually believe that when we have so much evidence to the contrary.
Well, there's a lot of intertwined ideas, and,
Yeah.
and I think perpetuating the religion is certainly part of it, and the God belief is part of it, and the sacredness of this or that is part of it, and it's all very intertwined.
Well, what do you think of the idea if a person says, okay, he's a theist, he believes there's God, but he doesn't believe the idea of religion?
I think that is, to me, that's a lot like splitting hairs. I mean, I've had a lot of other theists claim that they believe in God, but they don't believe in organized religion. But I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they're just taking a variant of a religion and making it very personal. It still has a lot of irrational baggage tied to it. It just happens not to be a popular variety
I don't know.
of baggage.
We hear a lot of I'm spiritual but not religious, and
Sure, there's that.
I think our general response is what do you believe and why, and
Right.
why should we believe it? Those sorts of questions are always relevant, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like there's one thing a person can have about their life, which is that they very strongly and sincerely believe in God. And there's another thing that they can have in their life, which is that they think the best way to promote that belief is through participation in organized worship or something. We disagree with the God part right out of the gate. So, and we don't necessarily disagree with organized institutions doing what they want to do until the point where they start to, get a little power hungry or interfere with other people's lives who aren't part of the group.
Well, that's exactly what they do. That's
I know.
the point. Yeah. Well, I don't understand exactly what it is you guys object to. Is it religion or the idea of God or that?
Both?
For me,
Why can't it be both?
I would be probably labeled an anti-theist. I think religion does harm, and I think that I'm trying to mitigate that harm by challenging the religious beliefs and assumptions.
Right. I think that I think that people should be skeptical of a lot more things than they are, and I think that believing in God is frequently a symptom of a certain kind of gullibility. No offense. Well, a little offense.
No, but I mean,
It's easy to lump a lot of baggage onto that. Once you believe in God, it's easy to get somebody to believe that, well, we're chosen, or our beliefs are chosen or special, and these other people need to be suppressed because their beliefs are bad, and it just goes downhill from there. So yeah, the God belief is often the beginning of something bad. It doesn't always have to be, but it often is.
I think that there are problems that are brought in when you believe something like, I think that there is an all-powerful creator of the universe who knows everything, and I'm sort of a little bit tapped into what he's thinking.
Yeah, like Dan Patrick.
Right. And that's where religions come from. But just a basic belief in God is sort of a gateway to that, I think.
No. That's not where religion comes from. Religion comes from the idea of some guys looking at this saying, hey, I can make some money off of this thing. Now, you people come in here to my meeting and you give me all your money.
Okay, so you're presuming to read the mind of everybody who gets involved in organized religion.
Yeah,
I can tell you,
there
I
are
know
plenty of people that don't think that way.
Yeah. I'm not saying that never happens. I'm just saying it's an awfully broad statement to say that religion has nothing to do with God. That doesn't compute for me.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know. Because were you guys Christians before you became
Not me.
atheists?
Actually, neither one of us were, although we do have other hosts on the show who have various backgrounds.
Yeah, backgrounds. Yeah. Well, I think you really got, especially Christianity, because Christianity doesn't worship God; they worship Satan. Their God, Jesus, is the devil. That's why they're so evil.
You're doing it again. You are. I mean, first of all,
Be careful with the gross generalization.
we don't believe in either God or Satan. So to me, like saying they worship one guy or the other, I mean, it's like saying, do they worship Harry Potter or Darth Vader? Like, neither one of those is real, and I think the problem fundamentally is believing stuff that isn't real.
Well, that's what I'm saying. See, they worship this evil thing. There is evil, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, if you look at the behavior of the God in the Bible, he's a pretty awful character.
right.
He's a
about
wanton murderer.
Tell us about the God that you believe in. Do you think he's described in the Bible or not?
Yeah.
You do?
Jehovah.
Okay.
Jehovah.
So we've got problems with that God. And it's got
Why?
nothing to do with the organizations around him. The Bible has a ton of stuff that God supposedly told people to do. That's terrible advice, and takes a lot of actions like drowning everybody on earth that are downright evil. And that's got nothing to do with the institutions that claim to follow that book. We just think the book's problematic to begin with.
Yeah, but if you look on the book, it's written by some guy.
Yeah,
And
well,
if you read the book,
so is
you
all
can
God
see the
belief.
guy's... Huh?
So is all God belief.
No, it's not.
Uh-huh.
Just because...
Is too.
Well, I'm not quite sure I understand the claim.
No, I don't think so, because religion is all basically a cult, just to get money out of people, to get followers, and to have control over the people.
You already said that, and I disagreed with it. I mean,
You don't agree with that?
I do agree that none of it has foundation in reality, and I do agree that a lot of people take advantage of it to manipulate people, but I am not going to follow you to the place where you say that's the only reason people believe.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, easy to sucker people into something, especially when it's a fear tactic.
Okay.
You're going to hell.
Why do you believe in God?
Well, because he came to me.
Oh.
So you have personal experience.
In
Well,
what
yeah,
sense?
I guess you could say it that way. Well, he's with me, within me, a part of me.
Okay. So he's in your mind.
No.
We can't argue with personal experience,
Right.
but you can understand that we don't find it convincing for us, right?
And I tend
I
to
can
feel
understand that.
I tend to feel like if people, if you weren't steeped in a culture that has these very specific concepts of God, you might interpret that thing in your heart and mind or whatever differently, and not attribute it to being something that has anything to do with the Bible or something like that.
Yeah, but that's not a concept of religion. Christianity says that you are separated from God.
I think
God
it is.
can't have anything to do with you, and you can't have anything to do with God. So it's like a Hindu. You have to work your way back to God through this idea of human sacrifice.
Do you think you're the only Christian in the world or person in the world who thinks he has a direct personal relationship with God? Because you're not.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
comes
and
to
when we look at all those people and what they say, there's no coherence there. They're all saying different things, and so it seems clear to us that there's no objective basis for claims like that.
Well, that's the problem. See, God has given you a free will, and you can think and believe in anything you want.
You're saying that as an assumption when we don't think there is a God, so we don't think that he's given us any free will.
Well, I don't know. Do you think he's given you a free will?
No,
think
because
he
we
has
don't
free
think
will?
God exists.
Well, do you think you have a free will?
That is a huge point of debate that's way too much to get into. I tend to fall on the free will side, but I don't think it has anything to do with God. And I know a lot of atheists don't think that free will technically exists. But whatever.
Okay.
All right.
Well, but anyway, that's still got nothing to do with the way what Christianity is.
Are you a
These people are
Christian?
evil. No.
Okay. Do you believe?
These people are evil. They worship Satan.
Wait, but you did say your belief it matches what's described in the Bible somewhat. Do you believe Jesus Christ existed? Or
No, there's no
don't believe
Jesus in
Jesus.
the Bible.
Okay.
His name was
He's
Joshua.
talking about the Old Testament, I guess.
Oh no.
No. And then
Which
What?
Bible
New
are you talking
Testament.
about exactly?
the New Testament, this so-called Christian, it was written by Jews. How can you call it a Christian Bible anyway? It was written by
Because
Jews.
it is, it is the foundation of Christianity.
No, it's not.
Unless
No, it's not.
you're cutting out the New Testament. Do you think the New Testament is
No.
part of the Bible?
No.
So
Yes.
are you Jewish?
No. I
Okay.
don't think. Well, that's an argument. But anyway, Christianity comes from this guy Saul of Tarsus.
Yeah, I
This
know.
guy Saul of Tarsus.
And
See,
the
a
Old
bright light comes
Testament,
down.
and the Old Testament comes from some superstitious writings of a bunch of nomadic sheep herders.
I don't know why you say that. What makes you think they were nomadic sheep herders? You don't think they were educated people?
I think many of them were. There were some educated sheep herders, but on the whole, I mean, this stuff comes down from legends that were passed
Oral
on through
traditions,
oral
yeah.
traditions. So it's
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
yeah. So I mean, we don't think any of it has any particular insight about the nature of the universe or any magic man in the sky.
Yeah, but any book is like that. Even
Yeah.
a book that's leading you astray, sometimes it'll have a paragraph in there that tells you the truth. So you have to, and it's written by these people, so you have to go through it and look for the truth.
Yeah,
Right,
but when
so-
a book is full of a lot of nonsense and the occasional accidentally true statement, I'd rather read something that's mostly true.
Yeah, I have a wonderful analogy there. It's shit in the applesauce. And there may be some awesome applesauce in there, but you know, you really got to dig for it. And is it really worth it?
Yeah. Anyway,
That's true.
I think we've been on this call for a while, and we're going to move on to other callers. But thank
you,
you for
John.
calling, John.
Okay, thanks a lot.
All right, see ya. Let's see, Michelle in Michigan, is it?
Hi, Russell. Hi,
Hi.
Don.
How
Hey.
are you?
Welcome.
Good. I want to jump right into it since that call took so long.
Yeah, well, that happens.
I know it does. I love your guys' show. I've been an atheist a little under a year, and I was a Christian for 35 years prior to that.
So you're a fresh atheist.
Yes.
Welcome to the fold.
Welcome.
Thank you. In regards to slavery, I'm hearing the Republican Party screaming about working hard and you can get anything you want. And, you know, the American dream, if you work hard, you know, you can have everything you want. And blah, 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 blah. How did that work for the slaves? The slaves worked and died and bled and cried, and they built this country.
Yep.
We would not be here if it wasn't for slavery. How come they're not the rich ones? How come they're not the ones running the government? How come they're not the ones?
I think the short
Where
answer
we
is
are.
that people who have power do what they can to keep that power. And since the slaves, started with none, they kind of remained on the lower rungs and were still oppressed even after slavery ended.
But how is it not a bald-faced lie for the Republicans to say you get where you are by working hard? It's a lie. You get
No,
where
I don't
you
know if
are
it's a
by-
Republican thing exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of the American dream that you can get ahead in life. And
Right.
it's something we try to tell our kids that, hey, work hard and you'll be rewarded. And, that's kind of how things should be.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely tell my kid that.
There's a lot of proof to the contrary, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not a completely cut and dry, simple question, because there are two questions here. One of them is how, what can I personally do to optimize my chances of having a fulfilling and successful life? And the other is, how is society arranged, and does it encourage or discourage, values like honesty and work, and
Does it reward virtue? Is
Right.
a simple thing, right?
being kind
Okay,
to people? Does that get you ahead or not? Stuff like that.
Okay, that wasn't the trail I was going on. It was
Okay.
more on the trail of all of this opposition to Black Lives Matter and saying that all lives matter. And, we hear a lot that blacks are lazy. They just want everything for free, and they're on welfare, and they just keep popping out babies and just.
Well, there's a lot of institutionalized
We do
racism
hear-
that we
Right,
and
because
we still have a
people are
long way to
ignoring
go.
We're also trying to remove the word slavery from the textbooks.
Yeah, in
And-
Texas, I think that is something that the Board of Education has gone for.
Michigan's trying to do it too.
Try to whitewash history.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. And it's lies. They're lying. These
Yes.
so-called godly people are telling bald-faced evil lies.
yeah.
Well,
And I don't understand that now as an atheist. I don't know how to deal with that. Like, how do we fight this monster?
Well, nationalism is a bit like a religion, like Christianity or whatever. It has its cultish adherents and people that want to say, "Hey, we're the greatest and we can do no wrong," and these sorts of things. And the truth is rather murky and dark and these sorts of things. But
Yes. And that's what I mean.
Right.
The other
we
part of
consider
why
that just
I-
as dangerous.
Right. And I think there is a definite impulse among certain political groups to try to ban discussion of inconvenient facts that they don't agree with as far as their
Against their
so-called
whatever
values
narrative
go.
or agenda they have.
Right. So, like, if science comes to a particular conclusion and that conclusion implies some sort of policy acting on the science, then they'll just forbid anybody to talk about something or research something.
Yes.
Not to get too specific, but I think you can think of several examples.
Yes. And I can also, the other part of the reason I called is because as a Jesus freak, I adopted 4 kids into Christian homes. And since becoming an atheist, I've gone on the attack with those families. And what I have found is that they all believe something different. And
Sure.
I'm confronting them with the fact, first of all, I hit them with the note that Moses and Jesus never existed. I kept it very simple so they didn't have to, that's the only thing they were going to see when they opened it.
Well, if this is something you're doing in a professional capacity, I think you're erring on the side of promoting religious beliefs.
No, children.
Right.
I'm doing it as the woman that realizes now I adopted 4 kids into a monster.
Well,
And I want them to know I'm fighting my ass off to stop that monster.
yeah.
And I asked those families what they're going to teach the kids about lying.
When you say you
And-
adopted, I'm not quite sure. Are you saying that you adopted 4 children?
No, I adopted them out. I gave birth to 4 kids.
Oh, I
and
see.
raised them in-
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
The
Well-
first one went into a home with a Christian family that practices secular holidays. The twins, I have twin daughters that I adopted into a home that does not vaccinate. So there's 2 little girls out there that have never been vaccinated.
Yeah.
The third home,
I mean, I hate to put it this way because it's a complicated issue. First of all, I do want to say don't hold yourself responsible for mistakes you made in the past. Like
I don't.
Okay, good. That being said, I think that once you adopt out some kids, you
Lose a lot of rights.
yeah,
right?
you implicitly forfeit some of your rights over their upbringing.
I know.
And
I acknowledge that.
right, so it's not
But I
your
want them to
fault.
have to lie to my face. I kind of want
Right.
to force them to lie to me so
It's-
that I can call them out.
Yeah. But it's
Well, I
not
understand
your
the impulse.
fault that your kids are being raised the way they are, and you are certainly free to try to communicate with them. But you should maybe think about your communication strategy and whether it's effective or not, because
I know.
they have the right to
I-
decide whether or not to associate with you. And if you just come across as this lady who's yelling
I'm
at them
willing
over
to
their
lose
choices.
contact. I'm
Okay.
willing to lose contact. This third adoption is an open adoption, and they are having open communication with me. This last conversation we had, they told me that they believe in evolution.
Okay.
And it blew my mind because they call themselves Christians, and they said that
There's all sorts of
religion and
variations.
science.
Lots of Christians believe in evolution.
But isn't that proof that it's a lie?
No.
Isn't it proof
I mean-
that all of this is a lie? They all believe different stuff.
That's a hard
If
thing
God
to
was
answer
real-
because obviously we think that Christianity is a lie, or maybe to
I
put it
know.
more gently, an error.
Well, I think you have to do some mental gymnastics to reconcile that with the idea of a fall and original sin.
Right.
And a lot of folks do that, those gymnastics.
Yes. But I mean, yeah, some of the most prominent spokespeople for evolution, like Francis Collins, are explicitly Christian. And we will, disagree with him and make fun of him all day for the reasons he gives for believing in God and Jesus and stuff. But his evolution education initiatives are generally spot on. And so that's part of the complex ecosystem of informing people.
It is very complex,
So-
and it is frustrating.
Yeah, maybe you ought to consider reading a book or something about creationism in the United States, because there's a lot to know about it.
Creationism?
Yeah, I mean, what you're talking about specifically, the disbelief in evolution, is creationism, not just Christianity in general. So, if you're going to generalize about people, you should consider learning the subject thoroughly. And I don't mean reading a creationist book. I mean read a sociological book that discusses the creationism
Do
movement.
you have any titles in mind, Russell?
Okay, I got you now. I got you.
Right.
Right now, I'm reading God is not great.
Sure.
Well, I think one of the things you need to come to terms with is different adults have different opinions about religion, and some of them are more worthy than others. And people have the right to hold whatever beliefs they want, and they also have the right to raise their kids, in those beliefs.
Right, but I have the right to say I don't want contact with liars.
You
And
have
even
the
if that
right to
means
not
that
have
you-
contact with them. You don't necessarily have the right to try to influence the kids that that
kind
you
of the thing that-
abdicated your parental rights on.
The thing that's kind of annoying me is I feel like I'm being looked at as mean or heartless because I am so sickened by this that I'm willing to just not even see those kids. I don't want pictures. I don't want letters talking about Christmas and God.
Okay,
I mean, I really just am pissed.
then
Well, it's a sad
Yeah.
situation that you're in, and you're just going to have to figure out what the best way is to deal with it.
I see little Hitlers every time they send me pictures. I see Hitler.
that's a little extreme.
I know, but
I'm
that's
sorry.
what I'm at.
People change over time, and I think that you ought to, my advice to you is to keep the door open and encourage these children to have a relationship with you that is pleasant and fun and whatever. And as they become adults, you can have some more serious discussions with them about your beliefs.
Right, because I think the best way to promote atheism is to be open and honest about your beliefs and be available to people who want to talk to you about it, and let them know that you're available. But not necessarily like rant and yell at them and call them Hitler.
It may be counterproductive to try to criticize and insert your viewpoints.
As far as a book
I've only
goes,
gotten here since Pence got elected as vice president. that really triggered this feeling of suffocation by religion.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. And
I felt Greta Christina's pain so strongly. Her fear of that suffocating religion and wow.
Right. Yeah. And your feelings are totally valid, and I can totally understand that. So I think we're going to move on to another caller now.
Thanks a lot, guys. You guys are awesome.
Good luck to you.
Thank you for calling. All right. Who's on the line? We lost somebody that I was going to pick up, didn't we? Yeah. Okay. Where are we? All right. I'm just going to keep going with who's on the line longest. But be sure to encourage your theist friends to call in. But right now we're going to talk to Frank. What's up?
Hey, good morning.
Hi.
I was when I registered with the person, I said I was agnostic, but I think I'm going to change that. I thought of a better word for it. I'm going to say Faithiest.
Faithiest,
Okay. Well, instead of trying to find the right one word to describe yourself, why don't you give us some details on what you believe and why?
Well, basically, I was raised Seventh-day Adventist, but it's one of those things where you kind of go to church, but you're kind of looking around and going, man, this is weird. But that's not really what I wanted to discuss.
Okay.
What I get is something a lot of people don't get, and that is why God permits evil.
Wait, so do you believe in God?
I think you never really kind of deep down get over that. So I'm going to say, in a sort of a way.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm shaking my head.
I mean, I know lots of people.
Those atheists, they secretly believe in God, and it's like, no.
Well, it's like if you ever seen Dead Again, Robin Williams puts it very well. He says he was talking about smoking, but he says either you are or you're not. Don't be a pussy who can't commit.
Okay.
But he's talking about, and that's the way I feel mostly about people who go like, oh, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious and shit. It's like, yeah, whatever. But
okay, but it sounds like you still kind of believe in God anyway.
Well, I still see him in dreams and shit, but now I'm realizing it's just dreams. It's not a real thing.
All right, so you don't take it that seriously. Okay, go on.
Well, you do when you see him. When you see him, you go, "Holy shit, there he is again." I guess I better, look busy or whatever, But it's more of a question that I thought I could answer for people who say, "Why does God permit evil?" And for thousands of years, people have been hung up on this.
Well, see, I've never been hung up on it because I don't care what mythology says about God or evil. But go ahead.
Well, there's this ancient Greek dude, forget his name. He says, like if God sees evil, and you've heard this argument, and he doesn't prevent it,
dilemma.
Evil and all that. Right. Basically, I think the problem is that God never tells the truth about anything.
Are you talking about the version of God in the Bible or what? Because you got to get specific here.
Well, basically, let me tell you what I think. The conclusion I came to just about 10 years ago. Well, maybe not quite. Is that there is a reason for humans. If in fact God made humans, then there is a reason, and the reason that any religion gives is bullshit. There's no valid reason that any religion I've seen so far gives.
Okay.
But it does make sense if you look at it as if God does want you to do something for him, or maybe needs you to do something for him.
You're losing me.
No, okay, here's the deal. Okay, in special forces, pretty much every one of them, I suppose. I couldn't speak to that, but there's a saying that goes like this. It's like the only easy day was yesterday. Okay, and it means every day is going to get harder and harder. When you're a kid, you drop your ice cream, and that's a tragedy, you know, and they don't know anything about loss or grief or anything, or pain or suffering. But that's what it is. And that's what this life is kind of like. It's kind of like an extreme boot camp where you go through and you basically struggle with things, and the struggle gets harder every single day.
Yeah, but there are benefits.
That's not everybody's
right?
experience. That may be your experience,
Yeah,
but that's not everybody's experience.
There's a lot of stuff I couldn't do when I was a kid that I can now, and it's kind of awesome.
Yeah, spending money is a nice thing.
Yeah, I think I think developing a skill over years and years, and being good at things and taking pleasure in all your experience is worthwhile.
Yeah.
Sex
true,
is pretty good.
But what I'm saying is, every stage gets harder and harder, and more, and the skills required are higher and higher, and et cetera and whatnot. Now, in this forces, if you're in one of these schools and you want to quit, you ring a bell. I assume they all have some form of it, and you're out. Mm-hmm. Now, what happens is the people who are still in still get crapped on daily, and it gets worse and worse. But the guys who fall out, suddenly they can go have a nice meal and a nice dry place to sleep, and bandages for their feet and all that other crap. But that's what it looks like to a Christian. They say, why is that guy over there? He's evil. Why has he got it good and I'm still suffering? Well, the answer is he just rang the bell. He's out of the program. He don't have to be treated anymore because he's not a consequence.
Well, there are these placating beliefs that...
Which is the guy who rang the bell in the metaphor?
Well, there are these placating beliefs that if you live a good life, you'll be rewarded later, and the bad guys will get punished, and it'll all work out in the end. And if you lose your religion, one of the things you have to lose is this kind of wishful thinking about good and bad, and you have to realize that it's up to us in this life to fix the things that are wrong and punish the people that are bad, and these sorts of things.
Yeah, religion has an appealing message, which is there is ultimate justice everywhere. You just don't see it because your perspective is too limited. If you're an atheist, you have the freedom to say, "Oh, well, sometimes life just screws you over," but
that's how it is.
The shit happens.
But my point is that the placating part is the lie. I mean, it doesn't make sense that he would put you through all this for no reason. He's building an army of tough people.
Well, lots of things in religion don't make any sense.
Yeah, but why torture everyone and okay, you did good, okay, that's it. The answer is no. The next stage is much harder than this.
I think you're trying to, even though it sounds like you don't really believe in God, you're still trying to come up with elaborate justifications for why religion makes sense. And maybe you don't have to because it just doesn't make sense.
I absolve you from the duty of doing this.
Absolving, yeah. I hate to say it, but that's
you can go off and live your life. You can let it go.
Now go forth and sin some more.
I feel a song coming on.
Well, all I'm saying is, maybe I'm wrong, but that would make a good justification for why God lets things happen to good people. Why evil happens to good people.
There's as many different religious ideas as there are people, and as far as coming up with an explanation, it's pretty hard to do because it's hard to capture all the different beliefs.
Right. I mean, and it makes at least as much sense to just say, actually, it's because God is a bastard and he doesn't care.
Sure is fitting with the character of the
Bible. Make
Bible.
sense of it, if nothing else. If you're going to have any beliefs, you have to try to make sense of them. And you cannot. Okay. Here's one thing I should mention right off. If you examine your beliefs, truly examine them, you have to be willing to modify them or even abandon them.
I agree. That's a sign of maturity, right?
Because if you're not willing to do that, you're not examining your beliefs. You're just trying to verify them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's lots of ways to trick yourself with confirmation bias into thinking that you have verified them.
Right. People, smart people especially, are really good at justifying their own irrational beliefs in a way that's persuasive to them, because smart people are good at convincing people of things, including themselves. That doesn't mean that the religion actually makes any sense. It just means they've rationalized it.
Well, all I'm saying is before you abandon your beliefs, I mean, and it may come to that. You may have to abandon your beliefs. But all I'm saying is before you abandon it, you should try to see if there's some way that makes sense.
As an atheist, I can't get behind that. I say abandon those beliefs first and then look at them with clarity in hindsight.
Right. So Russell wants to have a high standard for what to believe.
Yeah, I'm saying, how about not just not believing nonsense in the first place?
That's right.
Well, that's like I say, as a Faithiest, that's a difficult thing, because what happens is, even if you're kind of looking at everyone else like kind of weird, you can see other people in church who think the same way you do, and it's kind of like what they call gaydar, where you can spot a gay person. It's not hard anymore, but it's like among the religious people, we're still in the closet, and you can't. And if you do end up abandoning your faith, it could be fast. I understand that, like Matt, it was pretty quick, but some people, it's like living in Pittsburgh. I mean, maybe you really don't want to live in Pittsburgh, but you have to because your family lives there and your job is there and everything in your life keeps you in Pittsburgh. And you'd really rather live in maybe, Florida or someplace.
Well,
but
to your
that's
point,
the place you picked is where you want to live?
I think a lot of people take a long time to shed their religious upbringing. And I think 10 years is very common for people. We used to have on our website a testimonial section, and by and large, people took 10, 12 years in order to sort of say, I don't believe that anymore, and chip away at it until they got to nothing.
Yep.
And that's a very common thing. It's not an epiphany like you might see in the movies or something like that.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think Matt, it was really quick for him once. I think Matt once said it was took him 3 seconds or something, or maybe I'm thinking.
Yeah, but he also said he spent years studying to be a preacher. So I mean, it didn't just magically disappear without a whole lot of uncomfortable introspection first, and that's usually what I hear from people who have deconverted, which is not me.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well.
Thank you for calling. We're going to move on.
All right, thank you.
Bye. See ya. Vick in Nashville. I've been there. No, wait, have I? I'm sorry. Where was he? Where is he?
Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Hey, greetings from Music City. You guys are doing a great job. Really side with a lot of the atheist beliefs, and in fact, to the point where I believe that God himself is an atheist in light of the Christianity that has been spawned throughout centuries.
Okay, so you're a believer,
really,
but not in the Christian variety, apparently.
We're getting a lot of that today.
It's not really a matter of being a believer, or labeling someone a believer or not is not really the issue. It's the fact that all religion itself means to bind or bondage. So baseline, all religions on the earth, pick your flavor, pick your protein.
You and our first caller would get along great.
Yeah. But the thing is, God is an atheist in that what's propagated as him. Bon Jovi says, you give love a bad name. Well, Christianity, I call it, gives God a really bad name. It ain't at all what he is about.
And what do you think God is like?
Well, I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, he obviously created all of this stuff down here.
Wait a minute. Obviously? It's not obvious to us.
Well, yeah, nor should it be. Not the way that you guys have been blinded by all the religionists.
Oh, now we're blind.
They're the
Okay.
problem. Well, it's not so much that you're blinded by everything. You guys are very intelligent people. You see a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff that a lot of people don't see. I'm not saying that. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to, don't want to, in any way put you guys down. But what I'm saying is, religion, by default, creates and spawns a world of unbelief because it is so back-axward. And just, for example, case in point, Bible prophecy preachers, I mean, they're always going to be 100% wrong all the time because, spoiler alert, the Messiah already returned in the first century, and he has been here ever since, but not in a state that people are perceiving.
What state is the Messiah in?
In the unseen realm, the invisible kingdom of heaven that's been here all along, in a parallel, if you will, state with the visible world. Messiah manifested and then unmanifested.
Okay.
There's not some planetary place out there.
Do you think that's what the authors of the Bible had in mind, or are you just sort of running that through your own personal opinions?
Authors of the Bible? You're going to put your trust in man who has raped and prodded and rewritten? No.
No, I think the Bible is crap.
So where are you getting these ideas?
Yeah, how do you know this stuff about God? Where did you find out?
The Constantinian disaster that created what's called Bible today. First of all, the council wasn't even done putting their crap in there, and he said, "All right, we're going to ramrod this thing through because I'm the dude with the money and the plan, and these are the 50 copies. Accept it whether you want it or not." I mean, that's not even what the existing Christianity Bible today.
And there was even more variation before that, right? So even less agreement.
They weren't even done yet. Huh?
Even less agreement as to what it says, contradictory stories and stuff that was thrown out because it just didn't make sense.
Well, yeah, it's riddled.
Absolutely.
It's riddled with contradictory stories. Because
You're right.
According to Jeremiah 8:8, he says that man's got in there and basically screwed it up.
Okay.
But here's how God is so merciful. There's still enough shredded beef in there to make a sandwich. Okay.
Okay. You found some applesauce. Okay.
So where do you get? So we agree that the Bible is an unreliable source of information. So that still leaves my question: where do you get your information about God? What do you know that all these other people don't?
And why would that be a legitimate question?
Because you're telling us stuff about what God's really like, and we don't necessarily accept that you know what you're talking about either.
Okay, well, that can go two ways.
Okay, I'm sure it does.
Look around. Look at culture and society. You got a Pope. You got a Billy Graham. You got a 33rd degree freaking Mason called Billy Graham propagating a bunch of bullshit.
Yep.
The Protestants are just screwed up as the Catholics.
I agree.
Islamic people, everybody's waiting on the return of a Messiah of some kind.
But your God belief happens to be the right one. Despite all these blind people who follow all these various religions, somehow out of all these different belief systems, you've happened to land on the one that most people didn't see.
Yeah, so instead of telling us what you believe, tell us why you believe it. Why do you have the magic that everybody else lacks?
Well, I wouldn't say everybody else. There's always a remnant. There's been a remnant.
Yeah, so a handful. So, you're one of the chosen few, I guess.
Ultimately, I guess you could say chosen, but it's not anything that I've done to make myself worthy. It's not a free will. It's a free WHEEL. He reaches down on the earth and gets the clay and plops it on his spinning wheel and makes something out of it.
It's pretty lucky
you have no real choice in the matter.
It's pretty lucky that with all the clueless people in the world, you happen to be the one who knows the truth about God.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Where'd that come from?
You're not hearing me. I'm not the only one. I'm pretty sure of that.
But how many people have the right belief? Is it like 1% of humanity?
I have no freaking idea. I have no freaking idea, nor do I care, and I don't want to clump with them if I happen to find them. Clumping is what gets people in trouble. You don't clump together. The Boy Scouts in the wilderness don't put all their flashlights in a pile so they have a bigger light called a steeple.
Okay.
It's not about clumping. That's where these people who say they are unchurching get it
Okay,
wrong.
so I get it. You didn't get your information from other people or books. Where'd you get it?
Why are you so hung up on source here?
Because I think you're full of crap too. I'm just going to say.
Look at how religion has raped the earth.
Yeah.
Look at the problems in the world today.
There are a lot of problems.
It spawns unbelief by design because it is screwed up from the get-go. You know, here it is. Messiah did not come to the earth to create a God-damned religion. Now, hear me out when I say that.
How do you know?
I'm talking English. He came to this earth to create a God-blessed invisible kingdom and reveal that kingdom to people who would listen to him.
How do you know?
The problem is, mankind...
All right, you are not having a conversation with me. You're just doing a preacher thing, and I'm not going to stand for it. Are you going to answer my question or not?
Answer it again, and I'll give you an answer.
How do you know how do you know that a Messiah came to Earth, and how do you know what he wanted? Where'd you get that information?
I'm a researcher. I'm not
what
a
did you?
I use
what
all the tools
sources
available to
did you
have.
use to research this novel information?
All right. Okay, you ready? You want to live? You want a grocery list? YouTube, books, Amazon.
Oh, get the fuck out of here! Thank you. Yeah. All these ancient books didn't have the right idea about God,
not
but
much applesauce
some dude
on YouTube.
has seen the light.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. David in Atlanta, how are you?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. That last caller was hilarious.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, he was.
So what do you got for us today?
Yeah. Oh, man, I got a lot. So I am considered black, but I don't agree with racial categorization.
Okay.
But, of course, in this society, I am seen as black. And I first deconverted when I was a teenager, about 15 or 14, because I would pray for things and realize that they weren't being answered and that I was basically talking to myself. But I hadn't discovered the larger atheist community at that point, so I really was keeping it to myself. But growing up, most of the other people, the black people in the South, especially in my family, they always assumed that we were religious, and now they always assume that you're, pro-Black Lives Matter, but that's a whole other issue. But it seems like I'm between kind of a rock and a hard place right now because my entire family is Christian. All my black friends are Christians, and the ones who I'm pretty sure are atheists don't really have the answers to the Christian apologetics. And now every time I hear a theist talk, in the back of my mind I always hear like a fallacy dinger going off like, nope, that was an argument from ignorance. Mm-hmm. Nope, that was an argument.
Good for you. Good for you.
Nope, that was an argument from...
So your BS detector has been working.
Right, my BS detector is going like full speed right now.
It sounds to me like you need to branch out and find a bigger community. There's black non-believers. I believe they're in Atlanta, aren't they?
There are some black non-believer groups in Atlanta, and yeah.
Okay.
Wait.
So that would be one thing to do, or find an atheist group.
That'll be counterproductive to the race categorization, but yeah, I do see what you're saying.
Yeah, look these guys up because I'm seeing blacknonbelievers.wordpress.com. They are headquartered in Atlanta, and if you're looking for a social outlet that has a lot of stuff in common with you, that might be a good place to start.
Yeah, you're going to meet a lot of people there who are in the same boat, right? As far as having family and community that is very religious, and them feeling like they're outsiders, right? And that's no fun to be
right.
that. And it's nice to have some people that you can sort of let your hair down and be yourself, talk about stuff that's on your mind, right?
Right, definitely, because so far my communication with the atheist community is via the YouTube comment sections.
Oh, big mistake.
No. That's a cesspool, right. Man.
Yeah.
Get out of there.
Don't go there. That's like the actual worst place to get atheist community from.
It's just rants and stuff, yeah.
Right, and basically this year has been like the first year where I've been like actually studied up on the reasons why, it makes sense. Because I always knew in my mind that religion didn't make sense, but I didn't necessarily know what to say other than, to give them I used to give them the argument that, you got the religion from the people who enslaved, your ancestors, so why are you still following it?
Yep.
And they would
I've heard that before, right?
That's our burden to bear. That was God giving us religion, and we just had to bear that burden. And now, we have religion, so it was all in His plan, to make us slaves, and that's why we're here, not in Africa. And you don't want to. You wouldn't have rather been in Africa, would you? So, be grateful.
I'm when I hear you speak, I'm hearing you're a pretty hard-boiled atheist, and you sounds like you got leadership material, and you ought to get plugged in. Seriously. Sounds like you've got a lot to contribute to the movement.
Definitely.
I agree.
And I do a YouTube channel that I'm going to be putting stuff on, and I'm just wondering, my initial promotion, I do want to promote it on my Facebook, but I can already foresee like an overwhelming amount of comments from everyone on my Facebook.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to go that route. I mean, you don't have... Don't
Don's
take it
not
as
a fan of any social media.
Well,
I kind of like Facebook.
Don't take it as a project to try to convert people. That's a mistake.
Okay.
I think what you need to do is put your beliefs out there, criticize the bullshit when it comes up, and be available to talk to people if they want to approach you, these sorts of things. But that's with your friends and family, right? But in a sort of larger forum where you're sort of contributing to a forum or something like that, then you can go after the arguments, and you're sort of doing it anonymously at that point. A lot of us have cut our teeth on the internet as far as doing arguments online and these sorts of things.
Right. And there's certainly nothing wrong with doing that. I mean, I think personally that it is one of the best ways to practice your arguments and learn about your own weaknesses. But as far as the ability to change people's minds, that depends
Don't
a
count
lot
your chickens, yeah.
on who you're talking to.
Right. It's nearly impossible. And one of my best friends growing up, he's basically on his way to having a PhD in biology. And he's probably the most educated friend of everyone I grew up with. And he always falls back on the argument from design or the argument from ignorance. How else do we
I'm sorry.
look at the world?
But
it must be, God.
You'd be surprised because, I mean, a lot of people who live with that level of cognitive dissonance, like it may not feel like you're making an impact on him when you have arguments with him, but it could be that he's processing some of those things in his mind and he's not really satisfied with just, well, I have to have faith or whatever. He could change his mind over periods of time. I've seen it happen plenty of times.
We hear about it a lot.
Yeah, don't count on it. But
leaving a religion is scary, right? Because it's a kind of a jump. It feels like a jump into the void. It isn't, but it feels that way, I think.
Right.
And it's hard for folks to potentially lose their social structure and their kind of the way they grew up and these sorts of things, and reevaluate all that stuff. It's a big burden to have to do that. And you've sort of done that, so you're over the hump. But don't disregard the fact that is a big hump that people have to cross, or a mountain or whatever.
It's very overwhelming. It's very overwhelming here. The Christian influence. Even my Uber driver the other day was like very religiously preaching to me, and I get that all the time, especially in Atlanta. You'll get driver.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Saying, "Oh yeah, praise the Lord," or listening to something, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah," and it's like I just kind of smile and like thumbs up, but I try not to engage because I know I don't want them to run off the road in the middle of the argument.
Most of them won't do that, and if you find yourself starting to get in a conversation about religion with your Uber driver, it's not out of line for you to politely ask permission, like, well, I think my beliefs are different from yours. Do you want to talk about it, or would that make you uncomfortable? And there's a way to approach it in a respectful way so that you can have those discussions if you want to, and be sure that the other person is a willing participant. And I find those random discussions with strangers a lot of fun sometimes.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of the Anthony Magnabosco.
I was
That's a
just
good
thinking
model.
about that. Yeah, he's got an interesting technique for those sorts of conversations, right?
So interesting. Right.
So those
Yeah,
are great skills to learn and get good at, and it sounds like you have a lot of opportunity to practice.
Oh yeah.
Poor guy.
Be trying to make some headway, but yeah, it's difficult. It's really ingrained in the culture a lot more so than the belief, because most of the people I've met that are Christians haven't read the Bible or anything like that.
Yeah.
But there's this saying, you know, especially with all the women are like, I'm looking for a God-fearing man, and all the men
Right.
are like, you know, there's like a similar thing. Not as, you know,
Well,
the men don't
Like a dating
necessarily-
service, huh?
Right.
Wait till you get into daycare. Yeah.
Right. I know there are a lot of dating sites that let you filter more carefully on exactly what kind of person you're looking for, and can help you narrow down the field to people who are atheists like you. I think I hear that OkCupid has some pretty good algorithms. And I definitely encourage you to check out Black Nonbelievers, because even if you're having fun being a tough guy online and arguing with people and arguing with your Uber driver or whatever, it can be tiring and demoralizing to not have a social life full of friends who are simpatico with you in some way. And it's a good idea to reach out to groups that are sympathetic to your opinions.
Yep.
Right. And I've noticed that, you know, a lot of my friends now, since leaving college, when I was in college, all my friends were PS. And since leaving college, my best friend is an atheist now, but that's partially because he's not from America. In Europe, he's from Eastern Europe. You know, they kind of had the whole anti-religion thing during the Soviet Union, so he didn't really grow up with that, you know, religious mindset at all. So they all think it's ridiculous. So I do converse with them a lot, but
Yeah.
they're not from here, so it's hard for them to understand, you know, the overwhelming Christian influence that's in the Black community and just the South in general.
Right. Well, we're running out of time on the show. I want to get to a couple more callers who have been on the line for a while, but thank you for calling, and
good luck to
best
you,
of
man.
luck.
Thanks, guys. It's great to be on the show for a minute.
Okay.
All right.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Keep watching.
I will. Thanks.
I don't do the lightning round anymore. I think it didn't really work, but I'm going to get to two more callers.
Free will. Yeah, we want to talk
Yeah.
about free will.
Right. I'm just going to give them some advance warning that the last two calls were going to be short. I'm going to take Dean in France, since we just brought up European atheists, and then Andres in North Carolina. So if you're not one of those people, sorry, we're not going to get to you. Dean.
Hi.
Hi.
How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. I just want to say first, a long-time fan of the show. I've watched both of you wrestling down quite a bit over the last little while, and Matt and everything. So thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on. You don't sound like you're originally from France.
No, I'm not. No, I'm Irish.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, no, I was raised in a Catholic country, but surprisingly, I found Ireland has always been particularly very open-minded when it comes to religious beliefs. We're not overly Christian, but certainly not in the way you guys would be over in the States. But,
yeah.
I lived in New Jersey for a while. I didn't find them to be too bad either, but I've seen it in other parts.
Yeah, well, East Coast liberals, what are you going to do?
But right now I'm living in this country that is supposed to be it's supposed to have a separation of church and state, and I'm finding it really, really, really Catholic, I suppose, more so than Christian. I'm working in a Catholic school. Yeah, it's a strange one for me. I don't know if it's because they don't have the same connection with the with the government. I don't know what it is, whether they feel the need to push it more because they don't have the same
Well,
influence.
at the end of the day, religion is culture, and it sort of pervades various countries' cultures, and the Constitution or whatever may be secular in nature, but you can't sort of erase that culture, and that may just be there forever. I know Spain used to be very Catholic, and it's becoming a lot more secular, and France too, and it's just going to be a process.
I was going to guess that it might just be a matter of perspective and where you live and work, but actually Wikipedia says that France is in fact up to 88% Catholic, which is huge. I mean, that rivals the levels of Christianity in America. And it's maybe higher. So, it's not just your imagination.
That's true. Okay. No, because it's surprising because the culture here is actually really quite mixed. Because the French used to have a lot of traditionally Islamic countries as colonies, and they still do, and there's still a lot of that influence. But from what I've seen since living here, is that's led to this kind of racial issue in relation to all of this, and just kind of constant fighting and things like that. I mean, the place where I work, the comments that are made about the kids and about the families because of their backgrounds, and if we've got kids that are gay, and we're not allowed to in any way ever mention anything like that.
Oh, it's poor kids.
Yeah, it's oppressive. I'm actually one of my kids is gay, and his mother teaches religion studies and would be one of these super Catholics. It's a bit of a juxtaposition. Yeah. Well, but I get one of the main reasons that I was calling about that is that, well, since I've been here, you guys were talking about cognitive dissonance a little while ago, and I know that term really well. So I was a butcher for 7 years, and I've since become a vegan through my studies of everything for ecological reasons and ethical reasons and stuff like that. So I end up using the cognitive dissonance things like quite a lot in a similar way. But in terms of the religious aspect of things, I don't know whether I would class myself as an atheist or not. I've been wondering about that for a while. So I've been watching you guys for about 8 months, I would say. And I have a friend who's super atheist.
Yeah, I mean, there are different levels of how seriously you can take it, but for us, we generally say the litmus test is basically, do you actively have a belief in God? If not, you're an atheist.
Okay, well then in that case I'd be an atheist.
Well, there you go.
That was one of my questions. Yeah, so I don't believe in a creator. I don't believe in the magical man in the sky that came down and wrote a book that says the Earth is 6,000 years old when science has proven it.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't have to be a loudmouth about it to be an atheist. You just have to not have a belief in God, and there you go.
Yeah.
So in that case, because I talk about this a lot with my friend, because there was two issues that I wanted to talk about with him. I know you guys don't have a lot of time. She's got another caller.
Yeah.
But one of my things with that is that what is your take on believing in the esoteric side of things while still being an atheist?
What in particular?
You mean like supernatural things?
Not necessarily supernatural. I don't mean going around like putting garlic under your bed because you're afraid vampires are going to come in. But like you having crystals or using amethyst because you believe that there's a vibration.
Unfortunately, there are atheists who fall for that. But as a skeptic as well as an atheist, I tend to be super wary about that. And if you're in the Orange County area, you can hear me talk all about skepticism in a couple weeks.
Well, and to amplify that a little bit, there is
put online.
There are different sort of groups that huddle around different things, and we're pretty staunchly an atheist group, and that doesn't meet the needs of everybody. There are secular humanist groups, and there are skeptical groups, And those all have different spins and slightly different concerns, and we overlap a lot in the types of things we support and agree with.
Yeah.
You'll even find atheists among just people that want to promote science and scientific thinking, because they see that is a sort of core issue that they group around. And so there's lots of different ways you can kind of advance yourself and advance the dialogue in your country and in your community. And skepticism may be one. Maybe you don't have to go for the whole atheism thing. You can go for the critical thinking and stuff.
I guess I would put myself under the atheist thing, but it would be a lot closer to the secular humanism. Because I mean, like my friend would be a secular humanist atheist. You know, he's got a lot of philosophical beliefs that we share. I would say 95% of everything.
Right.
Well, one of the issues. If I
Dean,
pick very quickly,
Dean, it's been good talking to you, but I think we are pretty close to out of time.
Oh, no, yeah,
So-
we've run out of time.
okay, well, listen, guys, I'll call
All
back
right.
another time. But thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate
All
it.
right,
Thank you.
thanks. So I did say that we were going to take two last callers, and I'm going to give Andres a couple minutes, but that may not be as much time for a proper discussion as you want. Can you got anything we can discuss real quick before we head off to Star of India for dinner?
Andres, you're on the air.
Yes. Well, quick, guys. I'm a Catholic raised, fresh out of, atheist for the last 3 years.
Welcome.
My two kids have been raised Catholic and are in a Christian school right now in the Bible Belt because that's where we had to move for work. My wife and me were both surgeons. And now that we do not believe, when is it a good time and how to disclose to our kids that are currently still under the belief of a God as a possibility? How do we disclose to them that we don't believe? And second, should I take him out of the Christian school that I actually disguise, but the public school sucks? So that's one question. Second question, we're both surgeons. When patients' families that are believers ask us to pray with them for a miracle or to kind of join them and pray or join them in their asking for miracles, how do I politely say no, or is that something that I just say, let's just do it? What do you think?
I think that's too many questions, but my answer to your first question is right now. I don't think there's any benefit to putting off letting your kids know that you're an atheist, but you don't have to make a big production of it. You can. How old are they, by the way?
10 and 13.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Well, you can just tell them that different people believe different things, and you don't believe that, and
at that age, you're going to have to accept that they are their own people, and they are probably have well-formed opinions of their own.
That the damage is done, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that doesn't mean that the damage is done permanently. People do change their minds, but if you want, a loving and productive relationship with your soon-to-be adult kids. You both have to come at this issue with mutual respect, and that means accept the fact that they are probably that there's a pretty good chance that they're going to keep believing in God, but go ahead and let them know. The issue of God is a very complex one that a lot of people disagree on. And you've decided that it doesn't make any sense to believe in God in light of the evidence. In spite of what you've taught them, you've changed your mind.
And you can emphasize the breadth of belief that's out there, and that you're just one point in the spectrum, and they're in another point, and people change over time, and it's no big deal.
Right. And let them know you love them, no matter what.
On the subject of schooling, if they're getting a good
your call, guys.
Okay.
Thank you for the time.
All right.
On the subject of schooling, if they're getting a good education, keep them there.
Yeah. And if they're not, don't.
Yeah.
And that's our show. We are, so it's been great to have you back, Don.
Yeah, thanks. It's a dinner thing?
Don't forget to look out for the survey at atheist-community.org next week. And see you. this is Russell Glasser, host of the Atheist Experience. You know, the Atheist Experience is made possible by volunteers and the generous support of viewers like you. If the promotion of positive atheist culture and separation of church and state are values that you hold, please consider contributing by becoming an ACA member or visiting our product page at evolvefish.com under the Partner tab. Thank you.